I think the moment everything changed was quieter than it should have been. No lightning. No grand confession. Just her standing there in front of me, looking up like she was asking for permission to breathe. Her gaze was soft, too soft, like she was afraid I'd see the truth hiding behind it. She always looked at me like that, with this mix of familiarity and distance, as if she was standing close enough to touch but living somewhere far away inside her own head. And I trusted that gaze. I let it rewrite things I thought I understood about myself. When she spoke, her voice carried that small tremor she tried to hide. A warm, low note that slid under my ribs and settled there like it had always belonged. It wasn't what she said that shifted something in me, it was how she said my name. Slow. Careful. Almost like a secret she wasn't sure she had the right to keep. The first spark between us wasn't dramatic either. It was her hand brushing mine when we walked side by side, just a brief, feather-light sweep of skin. But I felt it everywhere. My breath stalled. My heartbeat went from steady to stumbling, like it didn't know how to keep its rhythm around her anymore. And that silence afterward. God. That silence held more tension than any touch ever could. She didn't pull away. She just let her fingers linger near mine, close enough that I could feel her warmth, close enough that stepping back would have felt like lying. I didn't move. Because something in her eyes made me want to stay. Something unspoken. Something tired. Something breaking. She was hiding it, I could feel that much, but I didn't know what it was, or why the weight of it made my chest tighten like I'd been the one carrying it all along. I should have walked away. Or at least asked her what she wasn't saying. But trusting her felt natural, instinctive, like breathing. And maybe that's why I didn't notice the shift at first, the way she looked over my shoulder, not at me. The way she held me like she was trying to convince herself of something she didn't believe anymore. I didn't know it then. But something was coming, rushing toward us, quiet and inevitable. And it was about to change everything. I should have stepped back. I remember thinking that, right after part 1 ended, right after she looked at me with those eyes that seemed to know too much and nothing at all. But she took one small step closer, and suddenly stepping back felt impossible. She stood so near I could feel her breath skim my cheek when she exhaled. Warm. Unsteady. It made the air between us feel charged, almost fragile, like any sudden movement might shatter whatever strange pull held us together. I tried to focus on what she was saying, but my thoughts kept tripping over the way a loose strand of her hair kept brushing my jaw whenever the wind shifted. I kept telling myself to be normal, to stay composed. But the truth was louder. She made me lose every bit of focus I pretended to have. When she reached for the sleeve of my jacket, barely grazing it, really, it felt accidental. But the way her fingers lingered, the way her eyes flicked up to mine right after, it didn't feel accidental at all. It felt like a question. Or a warning. I couldn't tell which. Her touch wasn't firm, but it echoed. It traveled like memory down my arm, settling somewhere deep where I didn't want it to. I tried to hide the shift in my breathing, but she noticed. She always noticed. Her lips parted slightly, like she was about to ask if I was okay. But she didn't say anything. She just looked at me, held my gaze long enough that my heartbeat changed pace again, stuttering, trying to chase hers. The worst part? She wasn't doing anything dramatic. No big gestures. No declarations. Just being close to me was enough to undo me. And yet, there was something off. Something in the way she kept glancing away after those moments, like she was remembering something she shouldn't. Someone she shouldn't. That tiny flicker of distance slid between us every time she looked down, and I couldn't shake the feeling that her heart was echoing somewhere I couldn't reach. I told myself to pull back. To protect myself. To not fall deeper into whatever this was. But when she stepped even closer, close enough that her shoulder brushed mine and her voice dropped to a whisper, I felt myself give in instead. I didn't walk away. I didn't breathe right. I didn't think straight. I just stayed there, letting her undo me one quiet second at a time. There's a reason I hesitate with her. I don't like admitting it, not even to myself, But every time she looks at me that closely, every time her breath brushes mine, something in me flinches before it leans in. I've messed things up before. I've trusted too fast. Fallen too hard. Given too much to people who didn't stay. So when she stands in front of me like this, so close, so warm, so quietly devastating, I feel every old bruise in my chest tighten at once. I want her. God, I want her, but wanting has always come with consequences for me. I keep telling myself she isn't mine, that whatever is pulling us together is temporary, fragile, maybe even imagined. But then she looks at me with that soft, uncertain focus, like she's trying to read something written under my skin, and my resolve fractures. I lose control in small, stupid ways, my voice lowers, my shoulders lean in, my breath changes rhythm to match hers. There was a moment today, just a second, when her hand hovered near mine again. She didn't touch me. Not really. But it felt like she almost did, and that single almost sent a shock through me stronger than any touch would have. I lifted my hand without thinking, drawn to her, to the warmth of her skin, to the way her pulse flickered at her neck. My fingers got close, too close. Close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off her, close enough that if either one of us moved a millimeter, something real might happen. But she looked away. And I froze. Her walls went up in the space of a breath. Mine followed out of habit. It's messed up how quickly I retreat when things feel too real, how fast I build distance to protect something I can't even name. Still, there's this ache in my chest whenever she steps back. Like I'm losing something I never had, something I shouldn't want but do anyway. She whispered something then, soft, uncertain, and when I leaned in to hear it, our foreheads almost touched. Almost. Another almost moment to add to the growing list of things we're both too scared to say out loud. I should guard myself. But with her, my guard slips every time. And I don't know how much longer I can pretend I'm not falling. I don't know when the distance disappeared. One moment we were talking about something ordinary, half a joke, half a memory, and the next, she was standing so close I could feel the warmth of her body through the thin space between us. My heartbeat reacted first. It always does. A sharp, stumbling kick in my chest that made my breath hitch before I could hide it. She noticed. Of course she noticed. Her eyes lifted to mine, slow and deliberate, like she was giving me a chance to look away. Like she was warning me this moment was going somewhere we couldn't take back. But I didn't look away. I couldn't. Something had been building between us for too long, stretching tighter and tighter, waiting for a moment like this. The room around us might as well have disappeared. All I could hear was the soft catch of her breath. All I could feel was the faint heat radiating off her skin. All I could think was, don't ruin this, don't move too fast, don't let her slip away. She stepped closer, not enough to touch, but enough to unsteady me completely. Her hand brushed my chest lightly, like she hadn't meant to, like the movement surprised her as much as it did me. But she didn't pull back. Her fingers hovered there, trembling slightly. I felt everything. Every quiver. Every breath. Every unspoken thing pressing between us. "Can I tell you something?" she whispered, her voice barely holding steady. Her breath touched my jaw when she said it. Warm. Soft. Dangerous. I leaned in before I even processed the movement. My forehead almost brushed hers, her eyelashes almost touching my cheek. My voice came out lower than I intended, rougher, pulled straight from somewhere deep and unguarded. "Yeah," I breathed. "Tell me." She swallowed, slow, careful, and her hand moved just a little closer over my heart. I felt her pulse through the air between us, fast and frantic, mirroring mine. Her lips parted like the words were right there on the edge. And for a second, one suspended, electric second, I thought she was going to say the thing we've both been dancing around. But she stopped. Her breath hitched. Her eyes flicked away for just a heartbeat. And right before she spoke, right before everything between us could break open, she hesitated. The moment hung there, trembling, waiting to explode, but it didn't. Not yet. The night it finally happened didn't feel dramatic at all. No fireworks. No big, reckless decisions. Just rain tapping softly against the windows and a warm, low glow filling the room like it was trying to hide us from the rest of the world. I remember the sound first, gentle, rhythmic, steady. Rain has a way of loosening the things I try too hard to hold together. Maybe it did the same to her. She stood close enough that her shadow blended with mine on the floor. Her breath was unsteady, brushing the space between us in small waves. I could hear it more than I could feel it at first, but when she exhaled again, just a little closer, it slipped over my skin like warmth I didn't know I'd been waiting for. I felt her breath melt into mine. That's the only way I can describe it. Like something inside me softened without my permission. My hands weren't steady. I didn't want her to notice, but she did. Of course she did. She always sees the things I try to hide. She whispered my name, quiet, uncertain, and suddenly the whole room felt too small for everything rising between us. I turned toward her, slow, careful, as if one wrong movement would break whatever fragile thread was pulling us together. Her forehead almost brushed mine, and my breath caught. It wasn't what she did. It wasn't her touch. It was the way she looked at me. Like I was something she wasn't sure she had the right to want, but couldn't push away. Like she was choosing me and apologizing for it at the same time. Her closeness. God. Her closeness rewrote everything I thought I could control. I'd built walls, habits, instincts meant to keep me grounded. But the moment she leaned in, slow, trembling, hopeful, those walls stopped feeling like protection. They felt like distance I couldn't bear anymore. The rain softened. Her breathing didn't. Every inhale she took pressed a little more warmth into the space between us. Every exhale brushed my lips without touching them. I didn't move first. I couldn't. I was afraid if I reached for her, I'd lose whatever fragile honesty she was finally letting show. So I waited. Heart racing. Hands shaking. Trying to breathe through the weight of the moment settling over us like a held breath. Then she lifted her face, slowly, like she was asking a question without words, and her forehead touched mine. Just that. Nothing more. But it was enough to undo me completely. I closed my eyes, and the rest of the world fell away. Her breath mingled with mine, warm and shaky. Her presence wrapped around me like the softest confession. No wild rush. No sharp breath. Just two people letting go of the things they'd been holding too tightly. And in that quiet, trembling closeness, without a single word spoken, everything changed. The first thing I felt when I woke wasn't sunlight. It was the absence of her. Not a dramatic emptiness, not panic, just this quiet ache, like the warmth she left behind on the pillow was fading too quickly. My hand moved there before I even opened my eyes, searching for something that wasn't there anymore. When I finally blinked awake, the room was washed in soft morning light, pale and calm, too calm. The kind of calm that feels like it's hiding something. My first thought was her breath against mine the night before, how steadying and unsteadying it had been at the same time. My second thought was fear. Because mornings have a cruel way of turning honesty back into doubt. What if she regretted it? What if I read too much into the way she leaned into me? What if her heart had never been here at all? The silence didn't help. It pressed against my ribs, thick and heavy, reminding me that sometimes closeness fades faster than it arrives. I sat up slowly. My chest felt different, like it had been rearranged overnight. Something had shifted in me, something I wasn't ready to name yet. It wasn't just that I wanted her, it was deeper, quieter, almost terrifying in its simplicity. I didn't want to lose whatever last night was. When I stepped out into the hallway, she was already awake. Standing near the window. Back turned to me. The morning light traced the soft slope of her shoulders, the stillness of her posture, the tension I hadn't expected. "Hey," I said softly. She didn't turn right away. And in that brief moment, my heart dropped, slow and heavy, like it knew something before my mind could catch up. When she finally faced me, there was something new in her eyes. Not regret, not exactly. More like she'd been caught between two truths and hadn't chosen one yet. I didn't sleep much, she whispered. Her voice was thin, fragile around the edges. And I felt it immediately, something pressing between us that hadn't been there last night. Not distance. Not guilt. Something else. Something she was fighting to hide. Are you okay? I asked. She hesitated. Too long. Far too long. And then, before she answered, the doorbell rang. A sharp, unexpected sound that cut through the quiet like a blade. She closed her eyes. Just for a second. But it was enough to tell me everything. Someone wasn't supposed to be here. Someone she hadn't told me about. Someone tied to the truths she'd been holding back. And in that single moment, my fear finally made sense. I chose her. It wasn't a sudden, dramatic choice. There were no shouts, no declarations of fate. Just a quiet, absolute certainty that the rest of the world could wait while I stayed here, in this small, suspended space with her. Her eyes met mine in the soft afternoon light, hesitant at first, and then something like relief flickered across her face. Relief, yes, but also recognition. Recognition that we'd both been holding on to the unspoken, both afraid to fall completely, yet desperate for exactly this. I let my hand brush hers, not the accidental brush of before, but a deliberate, grounded connection that said more than words ever could. I felt her warmth settle into me, and with it, the tension I didn't even know I was carrying melted away. Being with her was like learning a language I'd always known but never spoken. Every glance, every exhale, every silence between us spoke volumes. My chest, once heavy with hesitation and fear, now expanded with a calm, steady heartbeat that matched hers. I whispered her name, just once, and it was enough. She didn't need to answer. The moment itself said everything. We didn't rush. We didn't force the next step. We just stayed there, letting the quiet intimacy stretch and fold around us like sunlight through a window. Each second reminded me why I had almost walked away so many times, why I had feared letting her in, and why I couldn't bear to be anywhere else now. Choosing her wasn't about passion or urgency. It was about trust. About the way she looked at me like she was seeing not just who I was, but who I could be with her. About the way our hearts could finally breathe in the same rhythm. And in that choice, I found something I hadn't known I was missing: peace. A soft, tender peace that wrapped around me and held me steady, even when the world outside kept spinning. I chose her. And in that choice, I discovered a quiet eternity in a single glance.